This is Pixelated Audio, episode 141, featuring the music of Home Alone. Welcome back to Pixelated Audio, a podcast focusing on game audio, its history, and the people behind it. We're your hosts. I'm Brian, and this is Gene.
Hey, everybody. We're actually joined by two additional special hosts. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Sure, why not? My name is Nathan Daniels, a.k.a. UtopiaNemo, and I'm a longtime listener. I've been on the show once before, and I basically just hang around and listen to video game music.
And this is Norm, normally retro. I also hang around. I love this show. Been here for a very long time, and I can't wait to see how this goes today.
It's gonna be a mess. It's gonna be fun.
We're all gonna see how this goes together because it's the holidays. We brought our friends here to talk about a very special game. Well, a very special movie and a series of games that suck. Home Alone.
Home Alone. You know, in the past, we've talked about doing, kind of Christmas things. We've done holiday stuff before. This time, though, it's a little bit weird. We wanted to do Home Alone, and not because the music is really good, but the movies. I loved the movies as a kid. I mean, they hold up still. Like, I just watched Home Alone 2 yesterday, and I was digging it. The music, on the other hand, is there's some ups and downs, a lot of downs. So let's talk about it today. But yeah, I'm so glad that Norm and Nathan could join us today to talk about this music. It's mostly just going to be us talking about the movie stuff along with kind of some stuff around the game. So hopefully you guys stick in it for the music as well. So.
All right, and the track that brought us in was the title theme from the Gameboy version. It was originally composed by John Williams and put together by Mark Van Hecke.
Yeah.
That's pretty generous.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't remember the actual theme music from the movie, but does it sound like that for real?
No, it kind of does. It's that dun 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 dun.
I mean, that's the theme. It doesn't sound that bad. It's orchestrated, so.
I mean, yeah, but still, just wonder if it was in that same kind of. I guess. Okay, cool.
It's kind
of more Danny Elfman-esque, I think, just a little bit. It's got that mischievous Christmas nightmare type thing going on.
Yeah, you know, honestly, like, so this is actually surprisingly a special game for me, and the reason why is because this is one of the games that I got for Christmas, which is about Christmas. I must have been like 9 or 10. The movie had been out probably for a while, but I was so excited. And actually, the game at the time, it's really awful, but I thought it was okay. I mean, you know, kids, any game you get, you think is awesome until you realize that one day it hits you and you realize it's actually a horrible game. But this music's actually stuck with me, and there is some tracks in the Game Boy version that stuck with me through the years. Not just because of Home Alone, but because of this game. I never played the other versions until recently. So
you have a history with it.
I have a history with it. Other than that, it's I really wish we didn't make that the song we came in with.
Well, I was busy playing the marginally superior Fester's Quest, the better holiday game. So you got chumped, man.
Did you guys play any music? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, at least the music in Fester's Quest was amazing.
Well, yeah.
Of course.
Now, did you guys play any of the Home Alone games? I'm not the only one here.
I played the SNES version. Yeah, me and my friend used to play the SNES version, and even on my site, that's why I put it on there. The death noise, and he called me about that, and he was like, "Man, you got to hear this sound. Like when he dies, it sounds hilarious." And it's like, so
you know we're gonna inject that in this episode, right?
That's my
send that to us,
dude. That's what I think of when I think of Home Alone the game. Literally that sound effect.
We should probably move on to the next track before we dive more into this stuff.
But, let's not talk about that one anymore. So let's move on to this next one. This is called House, and this is from the NES version because it was released on a million different platforms, composed by George the Fat Man Singer.
style was composed by George Sanger for the NES version of Home Alone.
That was a lot better than the first track.
Yeah, I dig it, honestly. I actually, the game is terrible. Like, literally, it's so bad. It looks like it was completed in like 2 weeks. But the music actually kind of makes you, it's jaunty. It's pretty kind of groovy.
Yeah, I know. It's got a nice little bop to it. It's very, very simple. It seems like a just really, really early NES track to me.
Yeah, it has kind of a common musical style. I think there were a lot of NES games that had this style of music. Like California games, I think, had kind of surf rock music like this. It reminds me of Snake Rattle and Roll, but on a lower level. And like we were talking during the break, I am mildly familiar with his work on Maniac Mansion, at least for the NES, and I do remember that it was more intricate than this. So I'm not going to say that he was phoning it in, but they were probably on a pretty tight crunch. I'm assuming they were on a lot of these versions.
Well, the movie came out around the holidays, and I think this actually came out a year later, right? So
it did. I don't know if they thought this was going to be a big success, but they're like, there's no way we're going to release this in like June. We got to wait till the holidays the next year.
Exactly. So I mean, it makes sense that they decided to hold off, but also it does feel really, really rushed.
But most movie games are, though, because they need to get out in a certain season. Yeah,
especially back then. Yeah.
Did all of the versions come out a year later or more?
Yes.
I think some of them came out in 92. We'll be talking about it as we go through. The NES, some of these earlier systems, though, definitely, or at least for Home Alone 1, I think was all 1991, right? And then when we get into the second movie, that was obviously a year or two later.
The funny thing about like games composed by Mr. Sanger and, games of that ilk is like they don't use many tricks like, like Konami would do or like Namco or anything. But, the melody is something that most Americans would be familiar with. And it's really easy to just, kind of get down to. So it's lighthearted. You don't really think too much of it. And I feel like that's the same way he did, when he composed it.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Even a lot of the Japanese games did that too. I mean, this also reminds me of music from River City Ransom. Again, not as intricate, but there was definitely, I think in that period of late 80s, early 90s, a lot of different companies kind of used that musical motif in games.
Mm-hmm. And I think it works really well for the hardware, that like kind of progressive kind of surf rock sound. Kind of got like this 4/4 time that's maybe easier to write out, and so I think that playing it safe with having this nice dun 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 dun, works really well for earlier games and maybe even rush games. And maybe this is also something, I'm not trying to speculate here, but George Sanger noticed, I have these channels, I want to work with this hardware this certain way, make it nice, simple, and fun, lighthearted.
Chuck Berry is timeless, though, so that kind of classic rock is evergreen.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the movie for a second. This is one of my Christmas go-tos, one of my holiday season go-to movies. It's classic. This and National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, I say, are the two top ones.
I saw this at the theater and it blew my mind away. Like I didn't expect it to be, that trap sequence at the end, and like the whole crowd was like losing their minds.
Oh, it was the best. Everybody wanted to be Kevin and defeat a bunch of like criminals. It was great.
Yeah, I just watched it last night. It's such a classic. It still holds up.
I often forget about it. I don't know. I always remember Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and kind of a lot of the stop motion things, but every time I see it, I'm reminded about how good it really is. It's really entertaining, and it's for whatever reason lately I've just been seeing a lot of Home Alone related stuff. Like just randomly, I was talking to somebody today, and he was talking about Mark Rober, who does YouTube videos. He's a former NASA guy, and he did this this glitter bomb to catch people who steal packages off of nice. Your porch. And it was the second version. This came out 11 months ago, and he actually had Macaulay Culkin come in, and the whole motivation for him doing this prank on these people is it came from Home Alone, and that was like one of his favorite movies. And it was just completely random that my buddy started talking to me about this, and we sat there at work today and watched the whole video, and it was very, very Home Alone-esque. So It's kind of fitting.
Nice. We shouldn't have to explain Home Alone to anyone, but there's a handful of people. I mean, this came out in 1990. It's quite old now.
Yeah, it's 30 years old now. And
30 years old, and we do have listeners that are in their, teens and 20s. So there is a chance that you might not have seen this yet, but if you haven't, you should absolutely go back and watch it for a piece of history. The story takes place around the McAllister family. They're going on this giant vacation to Paris over Christmas, and in a rush to leave the house, they lose power, right? And their alarm doesn't work. They run to the airport. They race through stuff. Kevin, their youngest son, is up in the attic, and he's overslept, and the whole family's gone. They forget him, big family, and they go to Paris and they leave him there. And at the same time, two burglars named Harry and Marv, they go by the handle the Wet Bandits. They're looking for neighborhoods to rob, and they find out that Kevin's home alone, and so they try to rob this really fancy, elaborate house while the parents are away. So that's the whole thing. And his whole the whole motivation is for him to kind of protect his house, and he has all these elaborate booby traps, and it's pretty great.
Why were they wet again?
Their MO was to leave the water running. That was their calling card.
Okay.
They didn't know that he was home initially. They the whole thing was they kind of planned it so they were going to case a neighborhood where everybody was leaving, so it'd be easy pickings. And then, by coincidence, the kid got left behind, and, we have this altercation between an 8-year-old Kevin McAllister and the two bandits.
Kids are afraid of the dark. You're afraid of the dark, Marv. I mean, I can
quote
such a quotable
this movie. Film,
yeah.
The two things I remember about the film is, well, one I just realized recently, it just kind of clicked that the mom was played by Catherine O'Hara, and I love her as an actress. She's in a lot of Christopher Guest movies, and so she's really good at extemporaneous, acting. But in this one, she kind of reined it in, but she was still. I thought she did a good job.
Oh, she's fantastic. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I know. The other thing was one of my favorite scenes is the scene where the first time he tries to convince them that there are people there at the house, and so he sets up these cardboard cutouts, and he's playing music while they're kind of walking past the windows and stuff. I remember as a kid thinking, man, he's pretty clever.
He's brilliant. He's brilliant.
And he was a little bit dirty too, because he said, "Try that again, your horse's ass," or something like that. It was just oh my God, he swore.
That's
this
right.
Kid is the ultimate badass 10-year-old or 8-year-old.
Yeah, so I mean, the film was so popular that it inspired so many games, and the series, the games were never that good because it works really, really well as a movie premise. It's kind of has a start and an end, but as a game, it just, I don't know about you guys, but it just didn't work that well. And so there's a lot of iterations of this game, but they all kind of have the same feeling to them. So let's get into our next track here. This is track 4 or BGM 4 from the Game Boy version of Home Alone.
That was BGM 4, composed by Mark Van Hecke for the Game Boy version of Home Alone.
Norm, you said you like this one?
I really like this one, actually. It's a lot of stuff going on each channel because, it's a Game Boy song, and the bass line was on the right ear, and then there's this darkness to it that seemed really cool, oddly enough, for a Home Alone game. So yeah, it was a pretty good choice.
I don't know about it. I mean, I didn't really, I'm not saying it's a bad track. It felt overly simplified for what I think could have been done for this. I think that there's a lot of really good music in Home Alone in the movie, and I feel like this didn't really capture any. I mean, there's different levels and stuff that you wouldn't normally see in the movie come out in the game, but I would expect at least some, I guess, a little more fidelity in terms of what Mark Van Hecke was going to put together out of this. But again,
yeah, I came in expecting poop and I got a fart, so it's all good.
I think that's the quote of our 2020 shows. I think he's pretty true to the spirit of the film music, but I just wish he was better. Like, my only fond memory of any Mark Van Hecke music is I was very young and impressionable, and I played A Boy and His Blob way too much, and that's imprinted on my mind. But it's not good music. It's just it's super simplistic. It's like 8 bars maybe, and like the timing's all off. I mean, it's on brand for this guy.
Yeah.
So here's my thing. I think this track really I think it exemplifies most of the Home Alone music, especially all the Nintendo's stuff that's on Nintendo systems. And that is, I think the composition is fine. That's not really the issue. I think the problem is it's either poor and or lazy sound design. And it's just, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and assume that, hey, they're under a crunch. They got to get this out so they can make the money, albeit a year later. But, I think if somebody had taken the time to do better sound programming and put in more different instruments, I think it would sound a lot better. The other thing is, I might be wrong, but I swear that it sounds like a familiar melody. Like, I'm wondering if this wasn't some of the music from the movie, just really bad version of it.
It might be. And, a lot of the movie does this thing where it seamlessly ties in actual Christmas music or Christmas melodies with like
other
John
genres,
Williams
yeah.
and like John Williams original compositions that sound like Christmas music.
Add like jingle bells to things, like just sleigh bells, and it just makes everything Christmassy. So
pretty much, yeah. That's
I agree with you, Nathan. I think that the track it feels, the whole soundtrack feels kind of, it sounds really bad. I hate saying lazy, but it does feel like the sound design was just quite poor. And I think that just because the music's there doesn't make it enjoyable. And I'm trying to imagine playing the game again and kind of going through the motions. I don't think even as a kid I would have liked hearing this over and over and over because the game's quite difficult. And I just
down.
Yeah, I would have played it probably a lot like at night, so my parents couldn't see too. So I probably didn't have the headphones on or something like. Yeah, I do kind of second what you're saying there.
Yeah,
sure.
and I mentioned this before, but I'll kind of say this for the show. I was the one who requested this track, and part of the reason why it stuck out to me initially is for whatever reason I was listening to this on a VGM app on my phone, and it just totally, for whatever reason, just screwed all of the timing of the various channels up on all of it. And so just imagine like some of those sounds getting off by like a half a second to a second on every song, and I was just like, I don't understand what is going on here. It was like what did Mark Van Hecke and George Sanger, were they like doing cough syrup while they were making these? It was
super meta.
Yeah, but so anyway, it stuck out. But I think also it kind of does have, I think like Norm said, to me it has a kind of a dark but like also a mischievous feeling. I could imagine this on a Smurfs game if the sound design was better.
If the sound design was a lot better,
Yeah.
I think that
But
putting any putting any comparison.
Sorry, go on, Brian. I'm cutting you off.
I was going to say putting any comparison to like Alberto Jose Gonzalez is like, it's almost like blasphemy.
Well.
But the sound design is not going to get any better because we're listening to another Mark Van Hecke song coming up next.
Yeah.
This is Harry and Marv from the Super Nintendo version.
We got to get this guy on the show.
No.
No, please.
Let him defend himself.
That was Harry and Marv, composed by Mark Van Hecke for the SNES version of Home Alone.
It's nice. It's Dance to the Sugar Plum Fairies. Can't go wrong. It's a classic tune.
Or can you? No, it's not like it's not that exciting. I would have hoped to hear a little more maybe percussion line behind it, maybe give it a little facelift, but played it really safe. And for as much as we're giving the Game Boy version and the SNES version, Mark Van Hecke stuff, like a hard time, we don't know the ins and outs of the company, what the timeline was and what the demands were, or what the requests were for, his job. So, but that being said, it's just not that fun to listen to.
It just goes with the territory. It's just like, it's setting music and you let it play. Don't really think too much of it. I mean, as a game music aficionado, as a kid, I was like, oh well, not getting none from this.
Happy holidays, everyone. It's your Christmas present. Anyways, Gene, you want to tell us about the game?
Yeah, so we mentioned that the movie came out, so it was a huge success. Everybody wanted a piece of Home Alone merchandise. So from about 91 to 93, there was like 8 different Home Alone games based on the first game. There's more for the second. The NES, Game Boy, and Super Nintendo versions came out around holiday 91. Those were all published by THQ. The NES version was developed by Bethesda Softworks. Yes, that Bethesda. And the Game Boy and SNES versions were developed by Imagineering Inc. So if you're wondering how you get a bucket on somebody's head in Morrowind or Skyrim, it's because they were practicing from their work on Home Alone. Definitely. I'm pretty sure that's not true. This one actually came from Electric Boogaloo, but Imagineering was the sister company of Absolute Entertainment, which was a publisher founded by Gary Kitchen and a few other ex-Activision designers. So thanks again for letting us know that. That actually doesn't surprise me so much because I know Mark Van Hecke worked on, like I said, A Boy and His Blob, which was, I'm pretty sure, an Absolute Entertainment game. And a lot of the old Activision folks kind of spread out and went to different companies, founded some, joined others. It was, big diaspora from those folks.
Right. And the DOS and Amiga versions that came out, they came out about the same time. They were developed by Manley and Associates and published by Capstone Software. Are we going to be playing any tracks from there? I guess we are.
Yeah, we're going to be playing the DOS music a little later. Yeah, we're probably never ever going to talk about Manley and Associates or Capstone Software ever again. So this will be our time to shine.
I know. A year later, in 1992 holiday season, Home Alone for the Genesis and Game Gear came out, and there was a separate release for the Sega Master System in early 1993, unrelated to the Game Gear version, and all of them were developed by Brian A. Rice Inc. and published by Sega. So, that DOS music. You want to take a listen?
I sure do.
All right, this was composed by Tom McMail. So let's take a listen and we'll be right back. All right, that was the in-game music from DOS Home Alone, composed by Tom McMail. Just kind of sounds.
Yeah, it's classic DOS FM, but when else are we going to have a chance to play it, right?
Yeah. Again, happy holidays, everyone.
Not really the most notable, but I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I didn't check any of his previous compositions. Did you look anything up?
I grabbed a few of his records. Apparently, he worked on a couple of humongous entertainment games, the children's point and click, like Putt Putt. I think the one was Putt Putt Joins the Parade is the one that I saw he had the main credit for.
Oh, no, I'm just kidding. I have no idea.
I played Putt Putt Goes to the Moon as a very young kid. That was a fun one.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm not too familiar. Let's jump into the Genesis stuff because I don't really have anything else. Nathan, do you have anything to add on the DOS?
No, it's just that sound. I actually kind of like it in moderation, I suppose. It kind of reminds me of the mid to late 80s Atari arcade stuff. Kind of reminds me of some of the arcade, like Paperboy, 720, the music of that era.
Right. Well, I'm not saying it's bad. There's just not a lot there. So, It reminds me of, if I want to, equate it to a DOS game, it reminds me of Commander Keen without, the music. So there's some, areas that there's not a lot of music, but there's, world ambience. And I think that kind of sounds like that to me. It's kind of got these really rounded, almost skipping noises, I guess.
Yeah, no, Keen 4 was like that. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the instrumentation was fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Let's go ahead and jump into the Genesis soundtrack. This is called the Outside World, Outside Level, Outside.
That was Outside, composed by Rolf Weber and Clifford Falls for the Genesis version of Home Alone. Nothing, nobody.
Pretty telling.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually like that. I'm not too opposed from that song. I mean, I like I said, I'm not expecting to hear greatness from any of these. Nothing. But it's decent. It's not too bad. It's okay.
It's a good beat. I like it.
I was surprised because, honestly, from what we've heard so far, there hasn't been anything that had kind of like this drive to it, this kind of progression really stands out. And I think this is at least playing with the Genesis hardware, which none of the other tracks seem to do. They don't really play to any of the fortes. And I'm not saying this is an amazing track, but I feel like it is using like kind of that grittiness of the FM to really kind of drive this more kind of ambitious track.
Yeah, I thought it was a step up, definitely. I mean, you have the drums were pretty good for Genesis sample standards, and there's a fair amount of energy in it. So I think it's more than can be said for a lot of the other tracks that we've heard so far.
And we snuck in some Christmas music.
Yeah,
That's
true.
Actually, we had another track from the Genesis version, and Nathan, you wanted us to play the weapons track. You had a note about that before we play. What was it again?
Yeah, so the beginning of the track, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Ninja Step from Revenge of Shinobi, but the very beginning of it, I'm hearing it. Yeah, it's one of my favorites, and I'm hearing like, okay, it sounds like the Gems version of Ninja Step, and then it just jumps right into Kid Chameleon. But for a couple seconds, I actually like the Kid Chameleon soundtrack. I'm probably one of the few, but I think in general the energy that it starts off with is pretty good.
Yeah, I can see that. I think that kind of going with what I was saying earlier, I think the Genesis does feeling comes out in this track more than the other stuff for sure. What Van Heck don't. Sorry.
Rolf Weber does.
All right, moving on. This is the weapons music from the Genesis version of Home Alone.
That was Weapons, composed by Rolf Weber and Clifford Falls for the Genesis version of Home Alone.
Ooh, I love this one. This is great. This is really fun.
All the tracks on this album have a really solid beat, actually. They're not super impressive up top, but funky, groovy. I like it.
Yeah, it reminds me of like a really old drum machine and synthesizer, like very, very short samples. So it's like you get this really nice bass, but it's very has a very quick cutoff, and it just sounds like something just mashing around on it. It just sounds so fun to me. It's a lot of grooviness on one tiny little track.
Yeah, got that FM cowbell going on.
Yeah,
it's good.
Which is kind of odd because this isn't the game for like a rhythm like that, but I mean, it fits perfectly, so I'm perfectly down with that.
Yeah, it doesn't match the game at all. I can't imagine when this would play. Weapons,
has anybody played this game?
No, not the Genesis version. No.
No.
Yeah, the Genesis version is weird. It's like, it's funny because like Kevin becomes the burglar. He breaks into people's houses while he's like sliding around town.
What?
And
what?
I'm dead serious. Like he's just literally just sliding around town with self-propulsion. He doesn't even skid. He just slides around town. Then he just do you want to enter the house? Yeah, I want to enter the house. Let's see what's in here. I'm gonna go upstairs and steal some basketballs, steal some jewels. It's so weird. It's like,
wait.
What is this?
Did they watch the same film? Because that was not how an 8-year-old was handling this, whole neighborhood being out.
It's the Genesis, they got to make it edgy somehow.
Yeah, Kevin McAllister definitely does what the other people don't.
Oh my god.
Robbing people blind, damn.
Yeah, what a strange game. The graphics look great. This actually looks to me like the better of the games. Like maybe the best of all the other versions.
It looks really good.
It does, actually, yeah.
And there's something about, and I gotta say, even the Super Nintendo version, the animations are actually pretty good, but the frame rate that the animations move at is so strange that it makes the game feel very sluggish, very awkward. But yeah, the Genesis version actually looks pretty stellar.
I'm gonna have to check it out. He likes the soup.
I'm going to run down the composers real quick before we move on to the next tracks. We kind of talked about them a little bit, but going back a bit, the NES version was composed by George Sanger and Team Fat. They're known for their work on Maniac Mansion, Seventh Guest, quite a lot of other games. Game Boy and SNES were composed by Mark Van Hecke. We dunked on him a bunch. But, A Boy and His Blob, the NES Simpsons games, lots of other licensed titles from the NES and Super Nintendo.
For as much as we have dunked on Van Hecke, I have to say, though, some of his tunes are so ingrained in my head, especially the Simpsons stuff. And A Boy and His Blob for me as well. Regardless of what you think, it's like, if I say ba-da-ba-ba-ba, like everybody's going to know where that comes from.
We're going to have to cut that out of the show. Sorry,
yeah. It doesn't mean it's, I'm just saying, it doesn't mean it's amazing, but it's memorable and it sticks with you. So at least you get
I want to give him some props too, because I actually I have the Boy and the Blob, level song. It's in my collection. I can't even lie. So yeah, it was a memorable tune.
I do love that tune. Yeah. And so going on, DOS and Amiga versions were composed by Tom McMail. He worked on, as I mentioned, Putt Putt Joins the Parade and a couple of other humongous entertainment games. Going on, Genesis and Game Gear were Rolf Weber and Clifford Falls, who both worked on the Genesis game Batman Returns. Actually, I haven't heard that one, but I bet it's pretty good.
It's not.
And it's not. Oh, that's too bad. Okay.
Well, I don't know how the game plays, but the music is grating. That's just actually my opinion. Hot take, but
there are no hot takes. It's Christmas. Everybody can do whatever they want. and finally, the tracks we're going to get into for the Sega Master System were composed by video game composition legend Matt Furniss. It's a name should be familiar to a lot of folks, longtime listeners. Had him on as a guest on episode 58. It's a great show.
Yeah. This stuff that he did for the Master System is pretty awesome. So
yeah, it's a bright spot in an otherwise very dark holiday episode.
I wouldn't say it's his best work, but definitely let's take a listen because it's going to be the highlight of the show, I think. So this is Family House and Powerhouse, composed by Matt Furniss.
That was Family House and Powerhouse by Matt Furniss for the SMS version of Home Alone.
Slick.
Loved it.
Me too.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I love that little that delay trick that they do on there as well at the beginning.
Yeah, I like that. We don't hear that a whole lot, and kind of jumps into almost like double time, but or halftime. And Furniss, he's a powerhouse. And so
he's also a family house.
He's also a family house.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah. And thanks,
couldn't
Shane.
let that walk by.
Oh man, that was perfect.
Well, I was trying to go with the powerhouse. My play was just too obvious, I think. But anyways, Matt Furniss, like I said, it's not his best work, but it's super fun to listen to, and he has just like this playful energy that he puts into a lot of his tracks, especially his PSG stuff has just this really fun kind of bounce to it, and it's almost like I think he might have mentioned this in the show a long time ago, but kind of like almost like a toy, version. So I like it. He has really nice vibrato, and that he adds on there that always adds a lot to his tracks.
The thing about it is like he really cares. That's what I think is kind of cool, as opposed to what we've heard earlier in the show where they don't care.
Yeah.
We speculate they don't care.
Yeah, definitely. Furniss is one of my all-time favorites, and it's interesting because he's British, and he does use the arpeggiated sound that's common in a lot of European composers, but not nearly to the extent that others do. He kind of finds his way to great melodies and to really filling out the sound by really not using it too much. He uses other methods, and I think he holds his own with a lot of the Japanese composers for both the Genesis and the Master System.
I agree, actually, with everything you just said, because Furniss doesn't really fit the mold for a typical European composer. And I think that's what makes him so special, is that he has kind of a different, he doesn't fall into the kind of the demo scene tropes that we see from a lot of other ones. And there's nothing wrong with that, but he has kind of paved his own way through a lot of his soundtracks and a lot of his music. And I think that's what's made it so memorable. So I always enjoy listening to his stuff, for sure.
Yeah, I just want to know, how old was he at this time, probably?
Ooh, he had to be in his late teens, I think,
maybe
for
early
this.
20s.
Early
He was
20s.
talented.
Yeah.
Really talented
yeah.
for his age. Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah,
And
Big time.
I think one thing that I've always been really impressed with is a lot of the composers from the like C64 European didn't really make it well into the Genesis, but I love the Furniss Genesis music. We're not going to cover any of it today because he only did this one, but like I've been listening to a lot of Genesis music, and there have been a lot of soundtracks. I'm like, this is awesome. Who did this? Oh, it's Matt Furniss again.
Furniss.
He's like all over the place. His stuff is
Yeah.
fantastic, and like he's definitely one of those names that's like in the middle of notoriety, where he's a recognizable name, but he's not the one that everybody knows. But he's definitely one to look out for if you love EGM, of course.
Yeah, listen to episode 58. It's a good one to go back to. He's had a lot of obscure stuff, and I think that was the whole point of why we had him on. We wanted to like see if we could stump him. I remember it was a long time ago now. I wish we should do another show like that, but we tried to stump him on his own music, and I think we got him on some of them. But anyways,
he got like 8 out of 10 or something. He was pretty good.
yeah, but we played a bunch of weird stuff, and it was just all great music. Like even the stuff that you wouldn't think, required much care and feeding. He really went to town and did some just incredible work across the board. So Matt Furniss, anything that guy puts out, it always turns out good.
Yeah, one of the things about his Mega Drive output is it doesn't, like, again, it doesn't apply so much to this track here, but a lot of European and American composers, if you were to look at the frequency spectrum of their tunes versus like regular music or some of the Japanese composers, it's really lean and kind of strident in some of the frequency ranges, but his stuff always sounds so balanced. It's not just that he's using great instrument sounds, but it sounds like really good music. It has great bass and it has the high end where it should be. It's like really well balanced music. He puts a lot of thought into that.
Or he's just really talented and doesn't think about it at all. I don't know. I'll have to ask him. But
I think on one I don't. It was either I asked him or I read somewhere that like he had a decent hi-fi system, and that was one of the things that he actually strove for when he was making Genesis music, is to make sure that it sounded good on a good stereo.
Oh, that's awesome.
Makes a lot of sense, yeah. Especially because back in those days, I think I've heard stories like that. Like my favorite, Hiroki Kikuta from Secret of Mana was basically making sure that the samples sounded good on the way in, so that on the way out they'd sound good. That kind of like just that extra level detail and attention to making it sound good, I think is really what differentiates him and a couple others in this time period.
right.
Yeah.
Let's get into our next track here. This is also from Matt Furniss. It's called Haunted House.
That was Haunted House by Matt Furniss for the SMS version of Home Alone.
It's a really cool track. Really fun. Haunted House doesn't really fit the Christmas vibe, but I mean...
Yeah, it's about as far
at
as
this
from
point,
Home Alone as you can get. Yeah.
I mean, in 2020, Halloween and Christmas are the same holiday. You know, like you put on decorations and you eat too much, and maybe it's candy, maybe it's a cake. I don't know.
Like every day, man.
Yeah, it was like setting music, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I love the PSG in general for the Master System, and I really love what he did there. And we were talking off air about this, but there's something that he does, I think about 30 seconds into the track that you don't hear on the Master System. The Master System has what, Brian, you know this more than I do, what, like 3 square waves or something like that in a noise channel? Is that right?
Yep.
So it's really simplistic, and the sounds don't vary one to another at all. They have to vary by pitch for the most part. And so he uses this trick. I can't remember where I heard him that he did this, but it's just in a few Master System games.
For sure.
It was your show, okay. Yeah. That bass line, it's not a typical Master System sound, but I really like it.
Yeah, and I think, I'm trying to remember myself.
I'm looking up notes for it. I couldn't remember exactly. It's periodic noise based on channel 2. So
basically, yeah. So it's adding tone to the noise channel. And what were our notes from that from a long time ago?
All you need to know is that it produces frequencies that you normally can't get with the regular square wave. So it has this like buzzy saw-like character instead of just regular, square tone.
But there's no volume on it, so
true. And pretty much only the European composers either figured it out or used it, because I think it was like Alberto Jose Gonzalez and a few others late Master System games used this trick a lot.
Right.
It almost sounds like the when you swing the vine on Pitfall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so we talked about Home Alone 1. Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, was actually a really good movie, too. I didn't think they'd be able to do another Home Alone movie after the first one because it just didn't make any sense anymore. But somehow they managed to make Kevin off on his own again, but this time in New York. So we're going to be sticking with the Genesis version this time around, since this is the best version of all of the Home Alone 2 games. This is Airport, or Game Over, composed by David Delia and Paul Gadbois.
That was Airport, Game Over, composed by David Delia and Paul Gadbois for the Sega Genesis version of Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Not bad.
It's a fun track to come in on. Like, it's very upbeat. Actually, I'm surprised how little upbeat music we've heard this far.
Got some good energy.
Yeah, and this is an entirely different setting too, because the first game takes place in the home, and it's very much like this. It takes place in Chicago, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I right? And it's everything's like takes place around his home, and it's very much like him defending his house and his neighborhood and stuff. This is the busy streets of New York, and so there's scenes where you go into like Central Park, and I just finished watching this movie last night because I was trying to do a little movie night with my kids, and they've never seen Home Alone 2. Well, they still don't really get it. My son's 6, but I think it still holds up, and the music's definitely pretty awesome for this game.
Yeah, should I run through the story of this one just for funsies?
Yeah, of course.
So Home Alone 2, the movie, Lost in New York. It was released in theaters in November of '92. It's pretty much Home Alone 1, but Kevin goes on a plane to New York while his family goes to Florida. So instead of getting separated at the house, they get separated at the airport. So the wet bandits are back in town. Now they're the sticky bandits. They're like stealing things with Marv's sticky hand for some reason. I never
figured that out.
I don't think it's quite as good as the original, but it's still a lot of fun. It's definitely like a lot of the same cast, a lot of the same kind of production team. It's a sequel. It's like classic, just sort of get in there, do your job, get your paycheck sort of thing.
It's
Tim
not
Curry's
as good
in it though.
Yeah, it's not as good as the first game. I mean, it's not. No. Take that back. Completely opposite there. It's better than the first game, but the movie is absolutely. The first one is absolutely better, but Home Alone 2 is still a lot of fun. And again, I'm gonna say it again. Holds up. I think it holds up. Anyway,
I haven't seen Home Alone 2. I skipped both of those and went straight to 4. And 4, I was like, I can't wait to see Macaulay Culkin. Wait, who is this?
Macaulay Culkin would have been like 30 years old by that point. Like, what?
Yeah.
Wait, so tell us, how was 4? What was it about? The same thing?
It was bad. It was terrible. It was awful. It was. Pick any adjective that is negative, and that's what that movie is. It was so
Mark
bad.
Van Hecke? No, I'm just kidding.
No, Mark Van Hecke is totally acceptable. I don't think he's talking that. I think he's talking a lot worse.
No, the thing is, I didn't know there was a 4 until you mentioned it the other day. I had no idea.
5.
I literally watched it.
Oh my gosh.
No, not a 5. They stopped it before. But actually, though, what's weird, the bandits from part 3 actually come back in part 4, and they see the dude is like, his name is Kevin too. So I don't know if that's supposed to be canon or like, I don't know.
It's like Link, every kid that's caught by the burglars is named Kevin, right? That's
always canon. Oh, that's great.
But you guys know you were really robbed, right? Like there was a real Home Alone 2 that never came to be. So I love this story. So do you guys know Greg Sestero from The Room?
No.
I know The Room.
He was Mark. He was the guy Mark, not Mark Van Hecke, just Mark in The Room. So when he was 12 years old, he wrote a sequel to Home Alone. Just after the first game came out, he called it Home Alone 2: Lost in Disney World. Total Mary Sue story here. He cast himself along Macaulay Culkin, and he submitted a screenplay along with a provisional poster, soundtrack, and requested cross promotion with 20th Century Fox and Disney. He sent it to John Hughes' company, and he even got an award from John Hughes saying, "Oh, that's so sweet. You should go into acting." So now we have The Room to thank, Home Alone to thank for The
Room. Wow.
No way. I had no idea.
That's crazy.
No, totally, yeah. And this is my favorite thing. Like, I follow Greg Sestero. Ever since I watched The Room, I've kind of been like really a big fan. He's got a huge sense of humor about his life and his missteps as an actor. After that, he did The Disaster Artist, which is like the chronicle of everything that went wrong in The Room. It was a book, then a movie.
I never saw that. Disaster Artist.
It's like so cringeworthy. Like the story, like I read the book first because it came out a few years before the film, and it's just like the story of personal pain of like putting your trust into this guy who's like kind of a narcissist and a really hard to deal with person, Tommy Wiseau. And like this young guy who's just trying to make it in Hollywood and also gets stuck in this film that's in development hell for like 5 years. But anyway, long story short, he and Macaulay Culkin have a photo together where he presented him the script for Home Alone 2. So maybe it'll get made one day. I
hope not.
He wrote a tweet with it that says, "This sums up 2018. It took 26 years, but I finally tracked down Mac to pitch him my sequel idea. Home Alone 3: Lost in Disney World is coming in 2019. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals."
Wow.
To be honest,
funny.
sort of like how Lisa saved Itchy and Scratchy, he could have saved Home Alone with that, because honestly, that's a good idea. It's way better than Kevin being in New York. Him going on roller coasters and having fun at Disney World was great.
I'd watch a 40-year-old Macaulay Culkin in Disney World for sure. It's possible now.
But where's the bird lady? Where's the bird lady? It's just like being in long lines. Anyways, let's get to our other track from the Genesis version before we just go down a rabbit hole of Home Alone 3, 4, and 5 or whatever. This is The Streets or The Old House from the Genesis version of Home Alone 2.
That was Streets or Old House from the Sega Genesis version of Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, composed by David Delia and Paul Gadbois.
This is a cool track. I mean, it's the soundtracks. There's not like a great melody line, but it's got like a nice beat. It does really have this. It's kind of nice funk to it. I don't know if it matches with the movie as much, but I had a lot of fun listening to it. It's good. It's a good track.
Same. I feel like the arrangement is missing just a little bit. Like this could be an all-time classic, but it's not quite there.
Yeah, and we didn't mention yet. I think in the beginning when we were talking about the first game, we didn't mention that it was using the Gems driver. I mean, if it's not obvious enough, but this is also using the Gems driver as well. So kind of get what you pay for.
It sounds pretty decent for Gems. I mean, we talked earlier about that weapons track being the Gems version of Ninja Step, and I've already forgotten the name again. But I feel like this track was kind of like the Gems version of was it Make Me Dance? Make Me Dance, also from Revenge of Shinobi. I don't know. Maybe this guy was also inspired by that soundtrack. Had that trademark Genesis swagger.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
The game looks pretty good. I gotta say, looks good.
It's not.
Yeah, it's weird. I watched the first level, and Kevin is just like throwing baseballs at every businessman that walks in front of his way. Like it's just complete disrespect, misanthropic, and unacceptable.
Where honestly, he's a pretty sweet kid in like in the movie. Like he's like really nice. He goes to the toy store. I think it's Duncan's toy store or whatever. Anyways, he's a really nice kid. Gives him like an extra $20 to give to the homeless or children's hospital. And so I was like, he's a good kid. And then here he's throwing tennis balls at people. So I don't know.
He's violent in the Genesis games, breaking into people's houses, attacking them in the airport.
The Genesis bad boy.
The thing that's weird about both of these though is like they do that sin of putting the fire button as B and like the jump button is C, and I don't know why they start you with that. It's just so weird. And then it's like when you throw the baseballs, it's like at an arc, so you never throw anything like perfectly straight. So I can't stand. I don't know why they make design choices like this. Like,
so you made this, or I mean, you played this.
I made it. Yeah, I'm really disappointed in how I felt.
We've all got projects like that. It's fine.
I played it. It's just not fun. It's
it's too bad.
You rent games and you see how it is, and it's just like you get disappointed. Just one of those things.
Yeah, it's too bad. This is the one I was. So it looked pretty good on the first game did, and this one did too. So, oh well, too bad. Let's get into our next track here. Gene, what do we got?
This is Dark Streets.
That was Dark Streets, composed by David Delia and Paul Gadbois for the Sega Genesis version of Home Alone 2 Lost in New York.
It's got to be the standout track. Oh my God.
This is a good one.
So good.
Yeah.
Love it.
I was mentioning during the, right after we listened, that it reminds me a lot of the NES or Game Boy version of Jurassic Park, but it's like a slowed down version, but it has that same chord change in there that I really like. So, and I think that it stands out definitely in this sea of questionable music we played on the show today. So.
We all know that this was an excuse to talk about a bad game with our friends together. I mean, that's all this is over Christmas time.
But you get some gems in it, and this is a gem, I think, honestly.
It is, yeah. I was actually really surprised by this one. Like, offline, like, the people who are listening to this get the nicely edited version, but I had to listen to hours of this crap. there were 13 different Home Alone games, and we came up with, I think, one track about per game. I mean, not like exactly one from each game, like 12 or 13 tracks. That was the cream of the crop. So it's only worse from here.
This was, I love this track. There was something that that they did in this track, and to a lesser extent some of the other tracks on this this particular soundtrack, the Home Alone 2 for the Genesis. One of the things that really bugs me about Jem's composed soundtracks is that a lot of them, they use these presets on that they have, and there's very little sustain on any of the notes, and so it's a bunch of plinking and plunking of metallic sounding, tinny sounding instruments. And this one does something different. You have these sustain pads in the background, and it gives the entire composition so much more body, and it just feels so much more full, and it's like a completely different sound. I really like it. I really like it a lot.
Yeah, and I think that the both these composers have a lot more experience with the sound chip, or at least more dedication to sound design rather than just using the presets, because they did Green Dog, right?
Yeah, Paul Gadbois did for sure.
Yeah, I thought that soundtrack was super fun, man. And so, and then I want to see, I can't remember what else he did, but anyways, the point is, like, there's Gems music, and then there's like the Gems music. So I think that like, depending on the composer and depending on how much time and effort they wanted to put in, they could definitely use the pre-made stuff, or they could actually go the extra mile. And I think that these composers did go that extra mile with the soundtrack.
Definitely.
For sure. I want to run through this real quick just for, continuity's sake. But, if you thought the first set of games were cheap cash grab, you're in for it this time. Basically, all of the same crew as the last time made the games. The only difference is the NES version was also done by Imagineering instead of, what is it called? Bethesda. I think they learned their lesson after the first one. Capstone and Manley and Associates back for the Ultimate DOS version. No, it was a piece of crap. And the only Genesis game was this, or the only Sega game was this, the Genesis version, and Brian A. Rice. But the major difference is that the new composers here, David Delia and Paul Gadbois, which I think they did a fantastic job. Really impressed with their work on this one. And they both worked on Batman Returns. Apparently all of the Brian A. Rice folks worked on that game, and also the 8-bit ports of Sonic Spinball and Green Dog, the beached surfer dude, which Brian mentioned. We played a track from that in one of our expansion packs years ago now, but it's a cool soundtrack, definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed by their work.
Huh? They did the 8-bit ports of Sonic Spinball and Green Dog?
Well, actually, Paul Gadbois did Green Dog by himself. But I think they both worked on like the Game Gear and Sega Master System version of Sonic Spinball. And
gotcha. Yeah. That's why I was like, what? Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I said that was a little strange, but yeah, they're kind of like not the B team in terms of their quality, but I think they kind of worked on the lesser games, the smaller ports during this era. I'm pretty sure they've gone on to do music for quite a while, because I know I've seen Paul Gadbois' name come up a lot. He's been in bands. He's been doing music stuff for like 30 years. I don't know what else he's did in video games, but I know he's done I think he was a session musician even for a little while. I'll have to check that. But yeah, that's that. I also want to round out this section just by saying I found some kind of interesting stuff while I was doing some research. There was supposed to be another game called Home Alone 2 Kevin's Dream, but it never got released. It was canceled and then changed to a Bobby's World license and then canceled again. So it never actually came out. Yeah, the game looks terrible. It was made by like High Tech Expressions, if that name rings any bells. It's just like traumatizing for kids that wanted to play PC games in the early 90s. I'm one of them. And the music was composed by John Luce, who wrote music for the Game Boy version of Shaq Fu, so you know who you're dealing with. There was also a PS2 version of Home Alone in 2006, which who cared about Home Alone in 2006, and the game is awful. Just watch YouTube on that one.
What?
High Tech Expressions made that Mega Man for the PC, right?
I think they did, yeah. Or
yeah.
They made I remember playing a Jetsons game that they made, and it was just terrible.
I'm more confused about what company would think of releasing Home Alone in 2006? What was that meeting about? What they got together and they're like, you know what hasn't been done for a while? Another Home Alone game for the PlayStation. What?
It's not even branded. It doesn't even have a kid on the cover. It's like some C-grade DreamWorks child's eyes sticking through a mailbox slot.
I'm looking at the screenshots.
Wow.
I have to see
I don't understand it. Look it up. It's on Moby. I'm so confused.
Nothing about this game is worth any attention. We've already talked about it more than it deserves.
Home Alone.
And I'm assuming the music is also forgettable, or
it's just bland
avoidable.
And forgettable. I played some tracks on YouTube. Supposedly one of the credits is Bjorn Lynn, but his music's way better than that. So I feel bad if he got roped into that one.
Oh my God, this is so awful. I'm looking at it. Looks like a really bad early, almost like if you could make a Flash game in 3D.
Yeah, I got the same impression when I was watching it.
Anyways, moving on.
Wow. I don't even like Flash games in 2D.
Let's move on to our next track. This is good. This is the title or ending track composed by David Delia and Paul Gadbois for the Genesis version of Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
beautiful
PCM
sleigh bells.
Sleigh bells. Yeah.
Genesis Y.
It's almost like a theme song. Like a sitcom theme song.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. That's why I left it for last.
It's definitely got that.
Is this this Christmas I gave you my heart?
It does sound like that, yeah.
No,
very
it's
next.
No, it's the I can think. There's a.
Oh my God!
This sounds very similar to
the pitch bend there in the middle.
Yeah, that little whammy pitch bend.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted this playing underneath us as we were taking out the show. It felt like the right way to go out.
Oh God.
I feel like we should be all like walking in arms into the sunset, kicking in the air.
Or like the monkeys, how their feet are going in front of the others back and forth. It reminds me of the True Blue from Madonna. That's not the song I'm thinking. There is a very popular Christmas song that this reminds me of.
This is all going in the show.
It is. It is.
Yeah, he's turning his crap off. Anyway, I like the song.
That was the title track and the ending track from the Genesis version of Home Alone to Lost in New York.
There's no way we could, get away without playing this track, but I wanted to save it for closer to the end because the beautiful Christmas sleigh bells that you can't even tell that they're sleigh bells until the song starts.
I thought it was somebody like trudging through the snow, and that was like crunching snow. I was wrong.
The Genesis sound chip just has a slight tear goes down his cheek. Yeah. It was sleigh bells,
and mine as well.
It was supposed to be. Oh man, what a hot mess of a show this is.
I feel good. I mean, that song, you can't not feel good after hearing that. It's like it puts you in a good mood.
Well, honestly, like I know you guys don't agree with me on this, but like I have a little bit of a Boy George theme coming out of that, kind of like the last Christmas or whatever. It sounds really
George Michael. Yeah.
Oh, it is George Michael. Yeah. Sorry.
You know what this sounds like? It sounds like, you know how in films when they say, make it sound like this, but so it avoids copyright? It's like they did that, but like one more step removed on the Genesis.
Yeah.
Anyways, what a hot mess of a show this is.
Oh my God, this has been so much fun though, I have to say. I've missed talking to guests and friends, and doing this show is
and you just get mean.
Well, no, I know.
To be 100% honest, I would have never listened to this soundtrack ever. So I'm glad I did it. And we got a good song out of it though. It's Mean Streets.
Yeah,
that's right.
Dark Streets. Excuse me.
Dark Streets.
Dark Streets.
They're also mean.
Whatever.
Mean
Main Street. Yeah, they're dark and mean. It's Kevin.
I know. In that YouTube video that we were watching, like it's somebody's getting their face kicked in by a ninja. So it's Mean Street, Dark Street. Yeah. Anyways, if you want to know more about the show,
I think that about wraps it up. Yep.
You can find us online at pixelatedaudio.com for the show notes and the track list. We can also be found on Twitter at pixelatedaudio. Any plugs from you guys? Norm.
Hey, this is Norm, Normally Retro, at Normally Retro. I run a site called Rise From Your Grave. That's right, with a W instead of an R. It has all of your favorite voice sounds, and I'm starting a new show called A Question of Character, which I hope in the future will gain complete notoriety and overtake YouTube.
I died when I watched some of those videos, man. It's so funny. It's so really good job.
And what about you, Nathan? Anything you want to plug?
Oh, nothing. My ears after some of these tracks, but other than that, I'm probably on.
Oh man, that was good.
I'm on Discord. Yeah. I'm on Discord, and sometimes I still comment on YouTube videos, and that's basically it. I try and stay out of the limelight as much as possible. I save that for you good people.
Oh yeah, you're a good guy. Anyways, the reason why we wanted to, have these two gentlemen join us is because we're trying to get, a lot more shorter shows out recently this year before the end of the year. It's probably our last of the year. So we wanted to just have some friends on and chat about this music. We knew going in it wasn't going to be a lot of a great music opportunity, but we had a lot of fun. So thank you guys so much for taking the time and joining Gene and I today. Thank you very much.
I had a great time. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Norm joined us back in episode 115, not even that long ago, but it actually was a long time ago now.
It was a while ago. It's almost a year ago, I think now.
Wow.
Yeah.
For Quartet. And then way back on episode 60, UtopiaNemo, Nathan joined us for Herzog's Why. It's a good one.
It's a good 4 years ago now.
Both great episodes. I had a lot of fun listening to 115 for sure.
Yeah, was that really like 4 years ago? Oh my
I think
gosh.
I looked it up. It was like 2016 or
we are
maybe.
still doing the show. Man.
Yeah.
What a fun.
Yeah,
I love being part of this community.
Jobs being part of this show.
Wow.
I've changed teams and I had 2 kids and my life has changed a lot, but for the better. I don't get as much time dedicated as I used to. But I'm really happy that we have so many wonderful people in the Discord and across the community that are still keeping up and want to just be part of a group of friends that talk about game music and stick with it. So happy holidays, everybody. We got one track taken out the show. We just had to leave you with another Van Hecke track. This is the ending music from the Super Nintendo version of Home Alone. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Get a piece of coal with Christmas.
I was trying to be all nice, but thank you guys for listening. We'll see you back next year for our next episode. Yeah, I'll be right back. Give me 1 second.
My heart started beating because the last time Brian asked me to hold on the show, then I was met by Tomomo Yatani. And so I was like, oh, what? Is Mark Van Hecke going to come on?
Oh, God. No, I don't think so. Or Macaulay Culkin, for that matter. Sorry.
That's okay.
I heard everything you guys said about me.
Oh, God.